Now all coaches should and do often get respect from their students, but do you notice a little bit of extra good behavior around Tim Means, knowing that he's a pretty badass fighter?
Yes and no. Got some kids that like to test the boundaries or whatever, but
I was reading the interview that you did with James Lynch about a week ago ahead of this fight, and you mentioned how, the style matchup, it's just going to be a war for as long as it lasts. And it got me thinking, all through your career, you've been celebrated as this guy who is just about guaranteed to put on some kind of fight of the night performance. Where does that come from? Like deep down, some guys are a little gun shy, others don't want to get hit too hard, but it's nothing but action when you go in there. Like when you really internalize it deep down, where does that come from?
you know, raised in a trailer park. We got that trailer park trash going on. But, I was taught to, if you're going to work for something, you go 100% for it. So we put a lot of time and effort, and all fighters put a lot of time and effort in the weight cuts and in time in the gym and critiquing their techniques. So there's no reason to go in there and make it a sparring match. We get paid better if we try to take each other out. So, I'd probably have to give that credit to my mom. She made me duck a lot and hide from slaps or whatever. But just kidding, Mom. I love you. But she made me a tough kid and strong willed. So you gotta give credit to Mom for the fun fights.
Oh, shout out to yours and moms everywhere. I was looking back at an interview you and I did like 2 years ago when I was over at Bloody Elbow, and you said that you wanted to leave a blood and guts legacy. Is that still the case today?
Yeah, I think it goes without saying. I think it just fit naturally, and like I was saying earlier, we train too hard any other way around the octagon or whatever. As long as I'm able to cut weight and my body holds up and stuff, that's the way I'll permanently fight. And it's just a natural thing. It's something I don't have to force habit or whatever. It just goes. It just happens.
When you examine this upcoming fight with Danny Roberts, what is the biggest advantage each of you possesses?
I think we're both left-handed, or not, I don't think that. I know we're both left-handed, and we don't see a lot of left-handers in the gym. We both have big power in our backhands, so I think my wrestling will get the edge in this fight, and I think he's very strong in the clinch, and I think that also plays into my tool set where I fight the best at. So he's very aggressive. He comes and looks for a fist fight. And again, I think I fight very good under those circumstances when the guy comes and finds me. I don't have to go find them and chase my ring and cut him off and stuff like that. So where he's strong, I just think I'm just a little bit better in those areas. I think he's going to change his mind once we start getting these trench fights. I think he's been hit on the button a couple of times that wobbled him and got him going backwards, but he's not a guy that's going to quit. He'll stay in my face the whole time. So where I want to hit him hard, I need to also make him miss. But like I was just saying, I think his strong points are my strongest points. So I'm expecting a barn burner in those areas.
So, mentioned leaning on the wrestling a little bit. Of course, you're coaching wrestling these days too. We're going to get to that. But I think when a lot of people think of the Dirty Bird, they do think about the elbows, the shoulder strikes, the knockouts. What is the biggest misconception you think people have about you and your style?
I started out as a wrestler. I remember only knowing how to throw a left hand and get a body lock or shoot a double leg. That's all I knew. Started wrestling in 6th grade, and I think that's a knock on myself for the fact that I don't use a lot of my wrestling. I've been coming back around to it the last few fights. Got Staropoli on the ground right away. Put Rick Rainey on his back right away. Even in the Nico Price fight, I put him on the ground right away. So I just like to get in those barn burner fights. Sometimes I take more punches than I should. So we're definitely trying to get around to using some more wrestling in the clinch game and not let free shots land. But man, when you're in there and things are going fast, it's easy to talk about what we want to do on the outside looking in. But, we've really been drilling a lot over the last few years of getting into these spots, taking advantage of these spots, wearing the guy out a bit, and picking and choosing hard punches and not going not losing technique and getting out of control. If we talk about the Nico Price fight, I had dude hurt a bunch of times and came running in silly. I thought he was going to block down the fence line instead of bouncing off the fence line, but it is, man. I've learned a lot from losses, probably more than most of my wins. So you learn from that and move on, and Silas stayed violent.
Actually, a great leap off point for me. Two things on that. One, we talked, I think, after the Nico Price fight, and you had mentioned how he caught you with one of those punches that just came so fast, and you had been working on like the cognitive side of your brain, shaving off those fractions of seconds that can sometimes be the difference between landing or being landed on. Are those sort of cognitive trainings things that you've continued to do for the last couple of years?
Yeah, I've definitely gotten back into that stuff, the light training, the peripheral vision training, depth perception. Dr. Rahman and those guys over at MPP, they've done a good job of helping me see things coming at me better, but not just that. It's opened up a wide variety of my grappling game, my wrestling game, and then even teaching wrestling. It's taking me back to my roots, and even in the school of Moriarty where I started off, the old stomping grounds. Just a full circle back on it. So, a full circle back around to it with wrestling and teaching wrestling. I'm seeing things more clearly. I'm able to get back into the groove of or the technique of wrestling and grinding guys out and beating them up there. But the vision stuff really works a lot. It helps a lot in the depth perception stuff, the peripheral vision. So, and they're cool little games that we get to play. So I have a short amount of time left in this game. We'd say at least a couple years left, which is short compared to the amount of time I've been fighting and been competing. So, gotta take advantage of the way sports science has started to evolve over the last few years, and ways taking off with nutrition and recovery, and the visual aspect of it. Being able to see things coming at us and not landing cleanly. So, having a good time with this stuff as we go through this the end of this road, I guess.
So when you talk about having a couple years left, being towards the end of the road, is there a checkpoint for you that means this is it? Is it contract related? Do you have an age in mind? Like, what does retirement look like for Tim Means?
Now, I've gotten to fight in the highest level of mixed martial arts a long time. I've accomplished that goal. I would like to get a title shot. So I said in other interviews, I have to finish Mr. Roberts here in June 19th. I got to finish him, get a third straight win. I can get a top 10 guy. Stringing these fights together, I've been hit and miss, lost a couple close split decisions that I arguably thought I won. But I can't be calling out the right guys if I'm not chaining wins together. So I've always believed in, you got to earn it to start asking for it type stuff, or start speaking up for it. So with an impressive fight here with Danny, I think it puts me right in the long, not even having to ask for those fights. They'll finally give me somebody there. And I've had those opportunities. I've fallen a little bit short, but I think I'm getting better as we get deeper into this age, I guess. But, hell, I was 25 when I hit puberty, so I think I still.
You've brought up the subject of, stringing together wins, learning stuff through defeat. Man, the emotional roller coaster that fighters go through is not something that I like to live as much of a lax life as I can permit myself. The ups and downs of the fight game seem so stressful. What perspectives do victory and defeat in MMA give Tim Means in your day-to-day life?
Sitting in a jail cell for me a long time ago, those guards were coming and get you when they were ready to come and get you, so I had to learn to develop patience and not stress about things that I couldn't control or were out of my control. So I would say that type of mentality would date back to those days, 18, 19 years old, sitting in a jail cell, and, I can't get out because I want to get out. I got to be told when to go to bed and things of those natures. It just makes you a patient person. It made me strong mentally, and made my fortitude real strong with as long as I Oh, what's the best way to say this? As long as I look up and keep my head up and don't stay down, I can never lose.
Hmm.
I might lose some fights or not get that nod or whatever, but I'm still getting to put a check in my bank account. I'm still getting to feed my kids and my family. Living in a nice home and stuff. So if I don't stay down, I don't lose. And if I don't stress about things I can't control, I'm not losing there. I'm going to find the positive way out of it. It doesn't mean it's going to solve every problem, but it'll definitely help me face the challenges and find an answer to get past those things.
Let's finish up here talking a little bit about the new gig. First year wrapped up as the wrestling coach for the Moriarty high school team, your old stomping grounds. What are your memories of stepping back? Now, I don't know how many times you've visited since, but what are your first memories of stepping back into the high school, seeing what it's like all this time later?
They had me do like a couple guest speaker events over there.
Mm-hmm.
Suicide's a big thing going on over here.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the whole pandemic thing, but drugs in general. I went through a little party phase, got shot, got addicted to painkillers, and it kind of spiraled out of control. But I was able to, you know, correct that mindset and get away from that stuff and just the drugs in general. So walking back into the school, my first guest speaker event, and seeing the awards and stuff I was there for, and district championships that were won, and state champions I knew up on the wall and stuff. It was a very humble and sincere feeling. It just did the full circle thing that let me be able to speak in confidence out there and let kids know that you don't have to stay small. Moriarty, that where'd you go?
Right here.
Oh, we're back. I got a phone call.
Oh, good, man.
So I'm able to send the message that we don't want to be stuck in a small town. We don't have to, we can choose where we want to be and where we want to stay at. So a lot of these kids that I see in the high schools now, they don't have goals and ambitions, and a lot of them are medicated on antidepressants and all kinds of crazy things. So I'd have to say my first time back at the high school was a very humbling experience and an eye opener all at the same time, that if we're not trying to help our community, we're helping poison it. So it's been a way for me to keep my mind on my shoulders, my head straight, and trying to get back to the community and not poison the water well, if you will.
Now all coaches should and do often get respect from their students, but do you notice a little bit of extra good behavior around Tim Means, knowing that he's a pretty badass fighter?
Yes and no. Got some kids that like to test the boundaries or whatever, but have some very, very coachable kids that were on the team. First year coaching, we pulled our first year state champions. So and the young man, when you have a good athlete and just a good kid and a good character, you don't have to motivate those kids. They show up and they're motivated themselves, and it shows in their work ethic and their commitment to the system that you're trying to imply or whatever. But seniors were probably some of the hardest ones to deal with, even in my last year of helping with volunteering for coaching in football. Seniors just know it all, and they don't want to change. They don't want to adapt to things and welcome different issues. So as I told my seniors, and even the varsity football seniors that were leaving at that time, like, you better be ready for life to change on a regular basis, or you're gonna be a little upset and having to call your mom on a regular basis. But change makes us strong, and if there's any young person listening to this, that be willing to take on change and be willing to face that adversity, and change makes you better. You just have to accept it. So I never would have thought seniors would be the ones you have to chase around and make sure they're in practice, but it happens. I thought we'd have left that back in like 6th grade or elementary school or whatever, but
It's a time for a lot of change, I guess, for him. So Tim, man, you make these interviews easy. I barely got to ask a question. You drop all these nuggets. I love it. Last thing, I want to end on this. Just all in all, reflecting on the last year coaching, how much have you enjoyed the experience being the wrestling coach over at Moriarty?
It's been outstanding. It's made me hungry in a lot of ways, for the fact that I'm watching these kids go through. Well, here in New Mexico with the COVID deal, we have a ton of restrictions. So I'm surprised we even made it through a wrestling season in the state. So we got kids wrestling in face masks. wearing the mask and the cloth mask on their face, wrestling in that. We were canceled and then reinstated all in the same day statewide. So just the motivating part is watching these kids struggle, and they are adapting. They are biting the bullet, if you will, and digging down. And they had graduation and prom all on the same day. They had state wrestling. Everything's piled on top of one another, and this is the busiest I've ever seen a school year go. We only had 8 weeks of wrestling, which is the fastest season I've ever seen in my life. But it's motivating to see these young people show up to practice, show up dog tired, dealing with all this stuff, extracurricular stuff with their school, plus taking their finals, plus their grades. I just admire a lot of these kids' guts and glory and what they're chasing. And again, we have like Victor Acosta, Royal Page, and a few of these kids on the team, first year wrestlers, with Victor getting thrown in the deep end of the swimming pool and having to jump on varsity guys who are ranked first and second in the state and third in state. No complaints, smile on their face, ready to learn. I could just really admire that type of mentality.
Tim, man, it's always such a pleasure talking to you. Make it easy. You fight Danny Roberts, UFC Vegas, Zombie versus Ige, Saturday, June 19th. I want to wish you the best of luck, and I'm looking forward to the next time we can talk, my man.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the talk.